Yay! So how is everyone doing? So I have been pulled from limb to limb from every place in Jacksonville in the past 24 hours. Thank God I have some good customers, because if I didn't, I'd be in a bad situation right now. So as everybody knows from previous videos, I've had some issues with truck deliveries, and everything's coming in on Monday. And I got some doors built and other doors that just need to be a little fit and finish, but all is pretty good. So went out and did a job and tested out the new setup. Found out there's a couple of little adjustments I got to make inside of Hoochie Mama. And right now this is Chaos. This is Professor Chaos, the truck. Took that over to a buddy of mine, Alex. And we got it up on the lift and found out everything wrong with this. There is a pretty bad suspension issue. This is the one I bought from the dealership. And was it, I think day before yesterday, I was driving and I was going around a long sweeping kind of like an exit ramp, and I was turning to the right and I was holding the wheel still, but I felt the tires, like, even though I was turning, I had the wheel, you know, steady, I felt the tires doing this right here, kind of going back and forth. Turns out the whole entire suspension is just shot. It has, like, you know, 1.5 inches of play where the tires are just wobbling, like, you know, they can go like this, and then one will do this, and then the other do this, and they'll kind of, anyways, the tires are all chopped up. The front tires are bad, and it's been that way for a long time. But good thing is, parts, all the suspension parts we need, plus some extra stuff, you know, just because it probably should be done. Looking at $110 for all the parts, and then $150 to swap it all out. So I will say the Expedition so far has been very moderately priced as far as repair parts. This one here is leaking a lot of oil. Like, I pretty much was getting close to the bottom of the, you know, oil level gauge, and I've been driving it for a month, so it lost about a 1.5 quarts in a month. So that's not good. So Alex knows another guy who's someone who specializes in pulling engines and resealing them, and basically all he's going to do is just fix all the gaskets, the rear main, you know, time and chain gasket, all that stuff. Don't know what it's going to be, you know, hoping it's going to be around, like, you know, $600-800, but it might be a little more than that, just because you got to pull the engine. But this is a guy who can knock it out in a couple hours, versus if I did it, you know, it'd be a couple days. Even Alex said, yeah, it'd take me like 2-3 days to do it. But it's just what you're familiar with, what you're comfortable with doing. So went over to a job and swapped out some inserts where Lowe's sold them a door, and the inserts went defective, so they had it under warranty, and they brought out new inserts, but they wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't install it for them. So they, you know, they called me to install the glass, and I went over there, and it was a pretty cool story behind this, because the house that I was at was very close to a house I did quite a few years ago, and I completely forgot about this house. But it's over on Bowden Road by Villanova, and it's one of the houses that's on the water. And the crazy thing about this house is, I do not believe in ghosts, but I do think that this house was haunted. Like, there was, like, whenever I first went there, before I, you know, because I talked with the customer, and she wasn't living there at the time, and, you know, she just gave us a key, and the whole house was empty. There was nothing in there. And we were working in the house, and the back part of the house is one room. Like, I'm back there working, and I keep hearing doors open and close. And at the time, this one guy, Justin, was working with me, and he kept hearing someone knock on the front door, and you'd go up to the door and no one's there, and like, he'd shut the door, and then 2 seconds later knock, and he'd go running at the door thinking it was kids, no one there. And you know, like, I'm in the back of the house, and it just felt creepy. Like, you know how when your hair on the back of your neck, kind of, you get that tingly, like, you know, shit's about to go down. And but this is one of the houses that, you know, me and him both like, man, this is a weird ass house. Well, it turns out that the homeowner who grew up there moved out, bought another house, and then she inherited this house. when her dad died, but her grandfather died in the house, in the room that I was in. And, you know, like, you can feel that something was, you know, off. Like, I'm not saying I can see ghosts or nothing like that, but, you know, when bad stuff happens, you have kind of this spidey sense of, you know, like, something's not right. And but it turns out her grandfather died in that room. And, you know, it's like, yeah, we've had multiple people who stay in that room said it feels uncomfortable, you know. And it's not like anything bad, but there was always these noises of, like, you know, a door opening, a door closing. Like, we'd be back there working, and, you know, we have all the windows out and all stuff, so air flows through the house. But even after all the windows were done, they were still, you know, moving around, and again, it was just a weird thing. So, but yeah, and there was another house, before I ever got into doing doors and windows, I was helping out probably one of the greatest men I ever met in my life, a guy named Sam Inman. And most people won't know him, but he was probably a better father figure to me than both my fathers. So, but I was helping him out on a job, and I remember going to like a townhome condo, you know, but I think it was like 2 houses, a duplex or something like that. And we walked in this house, and all, you know, there was pieces of glass broken and stuff, and we were just there to swap out the glass. And I was helping him carrying stuff in and out. And man, as soon as I walked in the house, you know, I was like, this is not a good house. I was like, I do not like being here. He's like, you're just like your mother. You're just making up shit all the time and everything else. And by the time I was like, no, I was like, there is something evil in this house. I mean, it felt satanic in that house. And, you know, we got done with the job and everything. And he came to me like a week later, and he says, you remember that house that, you know, you thought was evil? I go, yeah. He's like, well, you were right. And it turns out that a father, I guess, had a psychotic episode and killed his daughter and himself in that home. You know, and it just like, again, I'm just saying everybody, you know, I'm not special, I'm not any of this, but you get these feelings sometimes, and then you go back and hear the stories, and it's like, you know, damn. But, you know, I've had it with cars. I've had vehicles that, you know, when I was inside of it, it's like I couldn't stand being inside of them. I'm not saying they were haunted or nothing like that, but, you know, sometimes you just get feelings. I had this one van I bought, and it was, I can't remember her name, but she was from New York, and she was deaf, and she moved from New York. I think the story goes that her parents died, and she came down to St. Augustine because they had the school for the deaf and the blind, and she was doing something with them. I think it was like, I don't know if it was job placement or something having to do with her career, and she was staying in an apartment over off South Side, and she was putting the van up for sale because she was living in the van while, you know, going through the school or doing her job placement. And then she got an apartment and no longer needed the van. But this is someone who can't hear anything and living on her own by herself. And but whenever I got inside the van, you know, and I bought it, and it was rusted out. It was a, you know, but I got a good deal on it, and it was a very good van, but it was not very well taken care of up in New York. I mean, the whole suspension, like, we couldn't do an oil change on it because it was so rusted. The molecular integrity of the oil pan, it was so rusted that the oil was seeping through the metal because of all the rust in it. Like, it wasn't leaking, but it stayed like a sheen on it where it just, there was you know, microscopic holes where the oil was just oozing out of the oil pan itself. It was so rusted, and everybody was scared to undo the, you know, thing to make it drain out, the drain plug, because they thought the whole entire oil pan was going to break. And on that particular model, you have to take the engine halfway out to swap the oil pan. So I ended up just selling it. But that van, as soon as I bought it and I drove it, and I was driving it home, and that was the most enjoyable, most, like, you were at peace when you were inside. It was like it was comforting to be in that vehicle. You know, like I've had some vans that, and I've had some cars that, you know, like you get in and you're like, I can't be in this car. You know, and then there's other ones where you get it and you're at like a peaceful thing. So, anyways, and all these stories just kind of popped up because I went to a house and remembered another house. But I do want to say that, you know, there is a lot of stuff that's beyond our realm of thinking. There's a, you know, whether you call it religion, spirits, you know, whatever you want to call it. I do think that, you know, our ancestors had a better connection with nature. I do think that we were able to be at a more so a harmony with nature that we have lost a connection to. There's too many stories in ancient history that, you know, where we had a better, and I don't want to say that we was talking to animals, but we were able to understand nature in all its capacity a lot more than we do now. We've been disconnected from nature. So, but I think there's little bits and pieces of us that, you know, that are, you know, well beyond, you know, what we would consider normal. So, and I'm not trying to get into conspiracies or nothing, you know, I'm not talking about telekinetics or telekinesis or reading minds or not. I'm not talking about that. And I personally don't believe in ghosts, but I have had some experiences that, you know, can be easily explained if you think ghosts are real. Let's put it that way. So, but I've been in some I've been in like district school number 4. I don't know if you can get in there now, but I know in the past I was able to get in there, and if you know the history about it, it's a lot more frightening than if you went in there not knowing the history of what happened in there. There was a couple of houses I've been into that have underground bunkers and cellars that were around pre-Civil War. So you can imagine some of the things that may or may not have happened, and there is a very eerie feeling whenever you go in some of them places. So, but anyways, this is kind of just led into a little story. I just pulled up at All American Hot Dog here. I'm gonna get me a salad. They got good salads they got good everything, you know, for low budget food. It's pretty damn good for low budget. I mean, where else can you get? I'm sitting here looking right now. A double cheeseburger combo, small fries, and a drink for $8.99. I mean, come on. I'm not gonna get it because I'm tired of being fat. But you know, if you have a waistline that you can that you're comfortable with, they got some damn good food here. Mainly the breakfast pitas though. So, and they're not sponsoring me. They're not telling me to say any of this. I just, when there's something good for a good price, I'm gonna put it out there. So, anyways, I'm gonna get something to eat. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I called up my customer for tomorrow and explained to them that it'd be better to do it next weekend when I have help and everything else. Oh, speaking of help, my nephew came over and got complete control of the backyard at the warehouse where all that stuff was growing up. Got complete control over that, and then my landlord was there dropping off some equipment, and he had a whole bunch of guys because they were moving this big like industrial lift. And he says, hey, while we're here, you want to move that axle? You know, and I get this old Ford axle that a guy bought from me. And it's been like at least 9 months, maybe longer. I don't even remember when it, you know. But he bought it for $100. And I kept saying every time I see him, hey, when you going to pick up that axle? When you going to pick up that axle? Oh, I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it. So anyways, they all got together and I helped them. And we picked it all up, put it on a cart, and moved it out to the road. And I put a sign out there, free 1-ton Ford axle. So it's sitting on Leon Road. I don't know how long it's going to be there. But when I picked it up by the lug nuts on the end of the axle, and there was a sand spur. And whenever I picked it up, man, it went in. I still have little spots on my finger where them sand spurs just went blah, 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 right up my hand. I was like, oh Lordy, you know. But that's out of the way. The whole yard's been cleaned up. You know, my nephew came over and just knocked that shit out. I mean, he did a wonderful job, so kudos. And he's trying to figure out some solutions to monetary issues. And I told him, I was like, any day you want to work, I was like, I got money. That's, you know, I got cash. I was like, you know, I'm not just going to give it to you, but come over and let me figure out something to do. And so, but I got some stuff at my house where he can do some landscaping stuff. And then I told him, you know, if he wants to, you know, come over for a few hours at night, we can go through boxes of inventory and kind of get all that stuff squared away, so I can start having garage sales, or not garage sales, but go to the flea market. But anyways, so that's it for now. Peace, love, money. I'm out.